Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm WoWcrendor, and welcome back to more vanilla WoW stories, because the last time I did one, it was me just going through my bank items, and people apparently loved it. So I was like, you know what? I love talking about vanilla WoW. Why not just keep talking about it? So today, I'm going to talk about my mounts, and how I got my first regular mount, and how I got my first epic mount. And you know, if you play today, you've likely just been like, oh, I went to the guy at level 20 and I got my mount because I had a bunch of gold and then I could ride my mount. Or maybe you get one of those like low level mounts that people get super low level. But it did not used to be like that. So, first time I ever got my mount was on this guy, on Billy or Kagon, or however you want to call it, whatever you want to call him. And it was, hold on, let me find it here. Not Swift Timberwolf, it was mounts. It's just a normal, not Timberwolf, Direwolf? Brown Wolf? No, it was a Direwolf. It was a Direwolf. It was a Direwolf. This was my first ever mount, ever, in World of Warcraft, way back like 12 years ago or whatever. And yeah, it was quite the experience to get a mount. So I'd hit level 40, and at level 40 everybody got a mount, right? Well, you didn't just get a mount, you had to buy the mount, and you had to buy the training for the mount. And back then, I believe the training was really cheap and the mounts were expensive. And you could also only buy the mounts related to your class. So if you're a troll, you can only buy raptors. If you're an orc, you can only buy wolves, etc. You could get exalted with the other factions, and then you'd be able to buy their mounts. So people would be like, oh my god, that guy's exalted with the tar, and he could actually ride a Kodo. And stuff like that. But for the most part, you hit 40, you wanted to get your normal mount. If you were like me, and still like 15 or 14 years old and very bad at money management and gold management, you did not have enough gold to get your mount. So I hit level 40 and I did not get a mount. I was like, well, I'll be able to afford it pretty soon, right? 41 came around, 42 came around, 43 came around, and I'd still not gotten this direwolf that I really wanted, because I had aspect of the cheetah. I had aspect of the cheetah, but obviously it's not as cool as being like, check out my mount. And I'd get like the carrot on a stick, and everyone's like, oh my god, you don't got a mount, but you got carrot on a stick, and it's like, ugh. So anyway, or actually, was that higher level? I don't know. Listen, all I know is I wanted my mount, and my one friend told me he was going to help me buy my mount, and I was like, okay, alright. And he's like, now if I loan you this money, you better just go and buy that mount and then repay me back and everything will be fine. I was like, yeah. But something happened, and he actually ended up like not playing WoW for a while, and I was like, hey, can you give me the money? And he's like, sorry, I can't renew my WoW subscription right now, but when I renew it, I'll give you the money. But I was like, no, I need this mount now. I'm already 43. I'm 3 levels past getting a mount, and I need it to level. So, I was just like, all right, whatever. You know what? That's fine. And I ended up grinding turtles in Tanaris. So if we go way down here to Tanaris, this little thing used to actually have land. It wasn't all flooded. And right here was the coastline, and there would be these turtles walking up and down. And another place I would go, close to there, is in Thousand Needles, the Mirage Raceway, which also had turtles, and I would farm them and sell their shells. I didn't I didn't know if that was the best way of making money, but 14 or 15-year-old me was like, this is going to be a great way to get my mount. And I did that until I got enough money to buy the mount, and I think I got a Blade of the Basilisk, which I showed in my video in my bank, and I tried selling it, but nobody wanted it. I was like, yes, this will help me get the money, and then I was like, nope, didn't help. Because nobody wanted to buy it. So I eventually got the money. I bought my wolf. I was very happy. And that was pretty much the story of my normal mount. It's just, it was difficult. That's the main point I'm trying to get across here, is that in vanilla WoW, you weren't just given your mount. You had to earn your mount. And then eventually they were like, hey, we'll just lower the cost of the training, and they'll lower the cost of things. And they're like, hey, you can buy any mount you want. And at this point, they're just like, mounts for everyone. But I mean, again, it was a different time. It wasn't as big as it is now. It is more hardcore MMO people coming from like EverQuest, and like that was all they played, right? Like everybody's like, oh, I've played this MMO that's really hard. And then WoW, even though it was like difficult, it was still a more casual MMORPG. But obviously things have changed. So that was my normal mount. Very fun. I remember getting it and just being like, now let's switch it over to my other mount, which was WoWcrendor. And hold on, could I just, I think I can do that. At this point, what is it? Swift. Where's the horse? Unless I can't, where is it? Horse? It's got to be purple. Here it is. This was the first ever epic mount I got, and this was probably the craziest, most excited I've ever been. One of the top most exciting moments in my WoW life, because everybody had normal mounts, right? But few people had epic mounts, because epic mounts were insanely expensive, like a lot of money. So if you were you know, if you're raiding, most people were raiding. A lot of people didn't even have epic mounts when they were raiding. They were just like, well, I got my normal mount, I'll be there. And then the like top people were just like, yeah, I'm gonna get there fast on my epic mount. And just like, whoa, and they're like looking all cool, and you're running around in your little dire wolf, and then they're just like, whoa, look at my crazy skeletal warhorse, and you're like, shit, dude, I want a skeletal warhorse. So I actually didn't even plan on getting an epic mount. I was like, I could barely get my normal mount. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get an epic mount. And after a while of raiding, there's this one guy who had so much gold, and he like felt really bad for some people, like me, who like were trying really hard to get their epic mount and then just couldn't. And he was like, tell you what, I see you're halfway there. I'm gonna loan you the money and go get your epic mount. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna finally have an epic mount. And I got it, and I just like rode around for like 3 hours just being like, ah. And I would like run up here, and then there used to be the bank here, and you'd run up here and you'd run through this and on top of the bank, and then you'd run to the edge, and then you'd be like, woo, and then you'd jump off down here, and you would just do that over and over, just like jumping off the bank. Rip old bank. Stupid Garrosh building his big ass tower in the middle. Yeah, old bank was great. You just run up there and jump off, and that was the best part about it. Oh my god, there used to be the people that like gamble on top of it. They'd be like, hey, place your bet and you could win money. And then they had WoW gambling, which pretty sure they all got banned. But back then you're like, oh man, I could make some money by WoW gambling in game. So yeah, that happened. But it's just crazy how much the game has changed and yet remained the same. It's just really weird. And those are my those are both my mount stories. Now, did I ever pay that guy back his money? I don't remember. I honestly don't remember if I did or didn't. Part of me doesn't think I did. I think I paid him back some of the money, and then he actually just stopped playing because of like real life problems. And so then I ended up like quitting the guild and like going to another guild and stuff, and I never saw him again. So if you're still out there, person that loaned me money, thank you very much. If you'd like me to pay you back, I have enough money now, because everybody has thousands and thousands of gold. Because back then, I think it was like, if you had like a few hundred gold, you were doing pretty well, because epic mounts were like 800 gold, and that was an insane amount of money, which is crazy to think of now. But I like to think of it as the equivalent of like where people are like, back in my day, you paid a nickel for a hamburger, and it's like $2 or something. So it's just inflation, it's just the economy and the game changing and all that stuff. Either way, what are your mount stories? Because I'm curious as to what everybody else's mount stories are, especially if you played in vanilla WoW, because getting your mount back then was quite the feat. And yeah. So thank you for listening and watching and hearing my vanilla WoW rambles. And if you want to hear anything else, leave a comment below. Either talk about your mount story or be like, Crendor, this is a thing from vanilla WoW you should talk about your experiences with. And I'll be like, oh shit, dude, I should talk about that. So thank you again for watching, listening, and yeah. Okay. See ya.